Assalamu alaikum jameen wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very warm welcome to you all, and thank you for joining us here on Safia TV, where today we're going to be focusing, as we mentioned previously, on phase 2, and specifically on Ihram, as well as its attributes and conditions. Because in the previous episode, we focused on Umrah Tamattu and Miqat. So now we would like to go a bit more into the experience of Hajj itself. And so we're going to be focusing today, inshallah, on the Ihram. Without further delay, I would like to welcome our dear respected scholar, our Hajj expert, Syed Raza Rizvi. Dear Sayyidina, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Inshallah, you're well today.
Alhamdulillah.
Dear Syed, so as we mentioned previously, we are now in the exciting phase 2, where we're traveling towards Makkah. But before that, I wanted to ask you, what is Ihram? Could you provide some of its attributes and definitions, please?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. When we say Ihram, it reminds us of the word Takbiratul Ihram.
Yes.
The first Allahu Akbar that begins the prayers after the intention.
Yes.
What that Allahu Akbar does is that it makes many things haram upon you, Takbiratul Ihram. So you cannot walk, you cannot talk, you cannot eat, drink. So it makes things haram upon you. You're in the presence of God. Likewise, Ihram is a dress that makes many things forbidden upon you. For example, looking in the mirror. For example, smelling the perfumes. So Ihram is probably the most important part of Hajj, or probably after Tawaf, it is the most important. And once you're wearing Ihram, then you are in the state of Hajj, in the sense that things become haram, so you have to make the intention, you have to wear the dress, you have to say talbiyah. But before that, there are some conditions.
Yes.
The clothing should be pure, meaning clean, or tahir. Secondly, it has to be fabric. Third, you should avoid silk, ihram, gold, you should avoid. Fourth, you should also make sure that the ihram itself is not from dead animals, which are slaughtered un-Islamically, or from animals whose meat is forbidden, so the leather from animals which are forbidden. So these are conditions of ihram that a person has to make sure apply to him. Yes. And then you're in the state of ihram with all of these conditions. The ihram for men and women may be a little different. For men, only 2 pieces of clothing are allowed. So there are 2 pieces of clothing that covers his upper part of the body and then lower part of the body.
Yes.
In the lower part of the body, according to Sayyid al-Khawinatullah Sisani, both, one has to make sure that they cover from the belly button till the ankles.
Yes.
And for the upper body, you have to make sure that some part of your neck, the whole of chest, your back, your shoulders, your belly, and back are covered.
Yes.
So these are the 2 clothing for men. The women have to wear normal clothes like they wear in white to cover the entire body with hijab, with the only restriction that they must not cover their face.
Okay, I see. Just on that point there, Syed, we get asked this quite a lot by our youth, especially who are going for Hajj the first time. Why, specifically for the Ihram for men, why is it so simple? Like you mentioned, some of the stipulations can't be of silk, can't be of animal, leather and so on. Why is it like this?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has called us to His house. He made His house in Makkah, a place which is rocks, doesn't have many plantation. He could have made it into heart of Europe somewhere, where there is greenery, weather is nice. No, He wanted a tough Hajj, and He wants us to be very simple. The most important part is to remember that the philosophy of simple ihram is that there shouldn't be a difference between rich and poor.
Yes.
So it breaks all of those boundaries where every person is dressed in the same clothing, ihram, and they are not dressed in silk or gold or expensive things. Very simple.
Yes.
And it removes the difference of your color, creed, race, language, your political status, your economical status, everything is ignored. You're all servants of God. What matters to God is who you are in terms of your piety, in terms of your taqwa.
And I've noticed that it's quite beautiful as well, seeing everyone in the same clothing. It's like you're one community, right? And I think that's what Hajj is really trying to get at, that you're the same in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
If you look at the sermon of Fatima Zahra, alayhi salatu wassalam, she says very beautifully that if you want to see the strength of Islam, tashyidan lid-deen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Hajj to show the strength and power of religion. SubhanAllah. When everyone is dressed in the similar manner, they're all very simple and in a very difficult weather, yes, all together doing tawaf and ihram. What? This is religion. This is Islam. This is for the sake of Allah. This is for the sake of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it makes uniformity, it makes unity, it makes the power of religion, and it makes the power of modesty.
Ahsan. And just following on from that, Syed, you know, if someone has an ihram, but they've not, for example, paid their khums, would that affect, again, the ihram itself, or is it allowed to be, you know, bypassed?
Two things I will very quickly mention. One, that the ihram itself has to be mubah, permissible. And the scholars have argued that, what does that mean? So it must not be usurped, it must not be stolen. And when you have not paid the right of people, then again you have stolen that money from them. So if I have not paid the Imam alayhi salam's right, Sahme Imam, then my ihram is not correct because I have usurped his right. If I have not paid Sahmi Sa'adat to the poor deserving Sayyids, I have usurped them their right. And therefore my ihram will not be acceptable. And to make sure your Hajj is acceptable, your ihram has to be acceptable.
Yes, yes. That's a very crucial point there, Syed, that you just mentioned. And carrying on from that, it's a similar point. I've heard some people, they've not been able to have enough funds, so their expenses have not been as much. And what's happened is when it's time to get the ihram, they've had to borrow it from the shopkeeper. And he's allowed it. But would this count as, you know, not usurpation, but would this count as being halal?
If the shopkeeper, if the person selling the ihram is not displeased, meaning you either do musalihat or you have his Raza. The two terms I will explain very quickly. So he either permits you and he says, I'm pleased, it's fine. Or you give him enough that he says that, okay, now the deal, because buying and selling is a deal.
Yes.
And a deal has to be correct.
Yes.
And ihram has to be bought in such a way that the person you're buying it from is pleased. So he cannot overcharge you,
yes,
but you cannot underpay him either.
Yes, yes. That's another crucial point, they say it. And regarding some of the specifics of the ihram itself, if, for example, someone has an ihram, it becomes najis, they can't buy another one, they are in the process of traveling, what can be done then?
They have to purify it. So they have to clean their ihram. And if ever, for example, using the bathroom or the toilet, their body becomes najis, they have to clean themselves. Likewise, they have to purify their ihram. Ihram has to be in the state of purification. And that's why we always recommend that people have two ihram.
Yes.
Two sets of ihram. So if ever they need to change, then they have the second pair to wear. And it is always better to keep two pairs.
Okay, I see. And in regards to, God forbid, someone's traveling and they suffer an accident. So in the state of ihram, now they have to put a cast on their leg. Would that again affect the ihram, or is there a different ruling for that?
That's an exemption because of the accident. That if they cannot, obviously it is a health condition. So then it is fine for them to be in that state.
Okay, I see. And just on this point, another interesting question you could say, which comes about, is that if a person's ihram, they doubt later on its purity. So at the time of using the bathroom or the likes in the state of ihram, it was fine. But after they doubt, what if, you know, it became najis? Did I clean it properly? What can be done then?
Once the time has passed, then the doubts do not matter. But at the time of wearing ihram, you have to make sure that everything is clean, everything is pure, everything is permissible. And once the time is gone, then you do not care about any doubts that arise in your mind, because it may be just a doubt that a person has after completing an act of worship.
And just a last question on this point there, Syed. How can one make an intention in such a way that, for example, if they later have to break the ihram in a state of emergency, is there a provision like that within Islam where you can make an intention to wear the ihram, but later, if there's an emergency or so on, or you have to leave Makkah in an emergency, so that the kafara wouldn't apply? So is there such provisions within our religion?
Once they've made the intention, then what they may have to do is go back and wear the ihram again, or change the intention in Makkah.
Okay.
So if they are in, for example, Arafat, they'll have to come to Makkah, make the intention again, and then they can actually leave it. For example, if they have to leave Hajj for, I don't know, health reasons, or something as an emergency has occurred, then they will have to change the intention otherwise.
Okay. And the reason why I asked that is because we hear in the month of Muharram that Imam Hussain alayhi salam, he was going towards Hajj, then he changed his ihram to Umrah. And then
so Umrah Mufrada. Some scholars argue that that is not the case. His intention from the beginning was because he knew that he cannot stay. So he did not change it. I don't want to go into that.
Yes.
And I cannot mention some of the names of the scholars who have argued this. So I will just leave it at that.
Sure. No, thank you, dear Syed, once more. I wish we had more time, but sadly, we've come to the end of the show. Thank you for all your efforts and your clarifications, dear Syed. And to our dear viewers, I hope you found that very useful. From here, the team at Sophia TV, we would like to take your leave. Please remember us in your du'as and stay tuned, inshallah. The next episode will be going into those prohibitions specifically that you cannot do whilst you're in the state of ihram. Until next time, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.